Yeah, right now we are over the summit section, David, of the Pacific Palisades, and the story is just as grim as Josh describes. I'm not even sure I was quite prepared, even though I thought I was, to see what we're seeing here. We're over a section of Avenida de la Herradura, and it's basically hit and miss. You have a couple of houses that are intact. You have several houses next door that are burnt to the ground, and right here in this shot you can see two large houses that are burning as we speak. There is a fire truck on that block, but they are probably most likely trying to protect the houses immediately next to that active fire that you see right there in the center of your screen. The same story is playing out in much of this particular section right now of the Pacific Palisades. Again, this is all the summit area along Palisades Drive, where the story continues. Let's go ahead and widen out, and we'll look over towards Palisades Drive to the right. It's a windy road that kind of peaks up here in the summit, and you'll see right there in the middle of your screen is another large house right on Palisades Drive. I hope you guys don't mind that we keep the numbers up. These are parcels, and so you can actually see the house numbers that we are looking at as we bring these pictures to you live. In this particular shot, that 1441 identifies that structure right there along Palisades Drive. There is brush around there that is on fire, and it appears several structures next to it that are also on fire. So in short, this is the 1400 block of Palisades Drive, which is seeing a lot of active flame right now as we speak. A little further up, Avenida de Santa Ynez, you can see fire just to the north of there. Active flames in a structure just to the north of that intersection, I should say. We widen out, and there are more pockets of flames over to the left here. We'll go ahead and keep scrolling over to the left here, and you can see, well, we saw some earlier. We just kind of, what we've been doing is kind of trying to find those active flames and then kind of move around to kind of give you a little tour of the neighborhood. Here's another one at Calle de Serra at Chastain Parkway. Active fire there. Again, more structures on that block that are still standing, others that were not so lucky. There is one large house that is going up in flames right now. These may not look large. That is because we are pretty far away. There is a temporary flight restriction that is keeping us somewhat at bay from giving you the really close-up shots, but from a distance, to see those large buildings on fire. These are large houses all up and down these neighborhoods here in the summit section of Pacific Palisades. On so many, no, you're right. You're both right. On so many occasions, we don't typically, put those addresses on the screen for different reasons. But in a case like this, I know it's a very hard way to find out about the destiny of your property. But it really seems to be a great tool in times like this, because you can see right here, now we're along the 1800 block. That is a very large home at 1806 Palisades Drive. That is a new fire start that has quickly gone up just in the last few minutes that we've been here, and it is continuing to hopscotch through this section of the Pacific Palisades. Also, I should mention, as we continue to look at these pictures, just minutes ago, we were a little further north of here in Malibu. Here's another, by the way, another couple of structures along the 1900 block of Palisades Drive. That's 1946, it appears, that is going to burn to the ground there. We were just a little further north and west of here in Malibu, specifically over Topanga Canyon. The main strip along Topanga Canyon is seeing a lot of active fire right now. The wind is blowing the fire away from Topanga Canyon Road. However, there's so much ripe brush between the fire and the road that it seems to be a struggle between the winds and the actual terrain, because the fire, even though the wind is blowing towards the ocean, that offshore flow, these Santa Ana winds are all blowing obviously offshore. Some of the fire is spreading in the opposite direction because there is so much heavy fuel to burn. And there are new neighborhoods that are now under threat in the Topanga Canyon region. Coming back out here to Pacific Palisades Drive, or Pacific Palisades, this is going to be the intersection of, this is that same home at 1946. That's at the end of Bosque Court, El Bosque Court. Let's go ahead and widen out and find another one, because it really just, it's almost endless, guys. I know it sounds like a broken record, but it's the same story up and down Palisades Drive and many of these surrounding streets. This is going to be at the end of Calle de Catalina at Chastain Parkway. This is a new home along Chastain Parkway that is going up in flames. 16899 is now heavily on fire, with fire showing through the roof there. We'll go ahead and widen out and continue to give you a little tour. Again, you're looking at the summit area of Pacific Palisades here. It's very difficult because of all of the smoke. Unfortunately, there's so much smoke, it tells us that there's a lot of active fire underneath the smoke. What we can't see is, we can't always see what lies directly under that smoke, obviously. But that is Santa Ynez Road that has several structures right there that are on fire. You can see those pockets of flames. Sometimes it's brush, but there are certain giveaways that kind of tell you that it's a structure fire as we kind of peer through the smoke here, up and down these blocks here. It's just a game of hit and miss as these flames jump through the neighborhood. I kind of had this disillusion that by now, at this part of the day, based on the forecast, as we approach the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour, that these winds would taper off, and they have tapered off. We're lucky enough to be able to bring you these pictures because the winds have tapered off from their peak overnight and earlier in the day. But unfortunately, these winds are still wickedly blowing through the Pacific Palisades, spreading that fire. Yeah, David, so this is what I was starting to refer to a little bit earlier. I want to reiterate that there is a lot of active fire here in Topanga Canyon, right along Topanga Canyon Boulevard. Again, I want to stress, you're looking from north to south down Topanga Canyon Boulevard towards the ocean. And even though the wind is blowing in that direction, and most of the smoke is blowing in that direction, there is a heavy body of flame that is continuing to creep in this direction towards Topanga Canyon Boulevard and towards some of these neighborhoods just off of the boulevard. In fact, you can see right here along Colina Drive and Green Bluff Drive. I hope these folks have evacuated because the fire, albeit slowly, is creeping towards that neighborhood. Again, the fire and the wind is mostly drifting away, but all of that heavy fuel between the homes and that active flame are creeping this way, so much so that there are embers floating through the area and indeed jumping Topanga Canyon Boulevard. If we go ahead and widen out, you can see that is the east side of Topanga Canyon. If we go over to the right, that's Topanga Canyon Boulevard right through the middle of your screen, Route 27, and then over to the right of that road, you can see there is now very thick fuel that is catching on fire. So the fire has, for all intents and purposes, jumped over the boulevard and encroaching on this main thoroughfare through Topanga Canyon Boulevard. There's very little of Topanga Canyon that has been spared, but we can see that there is a lot of still very active flame in this community. It's so devastating to see, but even more, I think, in the next couple of hours as this fire continues the erratic behavior. It is just not, it is obviously a wind-driven fire, but there is so much that did not burn during the Woolsey fire in this part of Malibu that it is just ripe for burning, and it is burning as we speak. Yeah, as far as I can tell, Topanga Canyon Boulevard obviously is completely shut down, but right now it is still accessible for the fire crews. And we have already, even in the last couple of minutes, seen that they do recognize the threat here, and there have been a couple of water drops on that ridge line that runs right through the center of your screen there where those active flames are. We just saw a helicopter drop a few minutes ago before you came to us, and it was actually a pretty effective drop, but it's just the scale of this. I think the scale of what we're seeing here is what's most astonishing. You could almost have all the firefighters in the world out here, and it just wouldn't be enough. Yeah, that's been the million-dollar question. We've been trying to get over there right now because of the flight restriction that remains over the firefight and the smoke. It's just too smoky to see where the sand, hits the beach, and it's just impossible right now to get over on that side where all that beachfront property is. You could kind of see it from this angle here, but you can't make out the actual buildings just yet until we can get a little further up top over this fire. Right now, the fire and the smoke is just prohibiting us from getting to the south side of PCH, unfortunately.